Hello, voices. My name is Joe Troy, and I'm a multi-award-winning voiceover and host of a VOICEOVER'S audio adventure podcast, a bi-weekly show where I learn about the voiceover and audio industry and share with you all of the stories, tips, and tricks along the way. Welcome to the podcast, and welcome to Season 2. I have some amazing topics to cover and some amazing people that I'll be speaking with. So let's get ready for some more adventures. The first adventure we'll be going on in Season 2 is recording sessions. Recording sessions are a voiceover's bread and butter and what is needed in order to do our job. The script will vary in length, and of course you can record anywhere you want as long as it's a quiet space, but there's only two kinds of recording sessions that you will encounter. They are directed and self-directed sessions. A directed sessions will have the client or producer in a session in person or virtually, listening in and giving live feedback, where a self-directed session would be yourself and feedback would be given at a later date. Although every session is going to be different, there are ways to bring consistency in your preparation and execution to get the best results every time. It's that time again, where I ask for some input from some other VOs and see what they do. But before we do that, let's talk about today's sponsor, which is VitaVoice. Brand new to the vitamin supplement world, VitaVoice has created VitaVoice Optimize, a daily easy-to-swallow multivitamin capsule with added nootropics, proven to contribute to normal psychological and cognitive function, to reduce tiredness and fatigue, and to support a healthy immune system. It provides daily, long-term nutritional support for pro voice users, including podcasters and voiceover artists. Formulated for professional voice users to improve vocal health and wellness. 100% vegan and made in the UK with purposely sourced high-quality ingredients. Not all big vitamin companies will do this and opt for the cheaper ingredients. VitaVoice daily supplements provide an effective natural way to boost your energy, focus, and immunity if you're unable to consistently access a healthy diet. If you already take a daily supplement, VitaVoice will be an easy swap and upgrade. It's been formulated by clinical voice experts and specialist performance nutritionists. It provides immune-boosting anti-inflammatory benefits for your voice, helping you to recover faster after heavy voice use, and I myself take it regularly. They're giving my listeners a 10% discount on a single pack. Go to vitavoice.co.uk to access this very special offer. Make sure you purchase through Shopify on the VitaVoice site and use the code JoeTroy at checkout. Remember to use this code through Shopify. Alternatively, if that's too much for you, just use the link in the description. Now let's get back to the episode.
My name is Dan Pye, and I've been a voice actor for about 6 years. Usually before a directed session, I would make sure I've read the script a good few times and probably get some water, spend a few minutes doing a couple of vocal exercises. Whereas with a self-record, I'll just kind of get in there and start reading, really. If I need a drink, I'll just nip out and get one. I might do a morning exercise just to loosen myself out, or if I'm struggling halfway through, I'll start to introduce an exercise then. So it's just a more relaxed approach, I guess, to the directed session where I do all of that stuff before the session. How do you approach recording long-form script versus short-form script sessions? Well, I hate long-form scripts because they're really long and sometimes I do lose a bit of interest. But I mean, they're both really, to me, the same in terms of preparation. I'll still, if I'm recording myself, then I'll just stay hydrated throughout. If I'm recording on a session, then I'll make sure, again, that I've got something with me to keep me hydrated. I think for me, it's with the long form, it's trying to stay interested in the script and trying to stay animated with the script as well, and not just becoming sterile and sounding like I'm just reading something not interesting or that I'm not interested in, because everything's interesting to somebody, right? But it's something that I'm not interested in. Whereas I think it's important to remain sounding interested and invested in whatever it is that you're reading. So yeah, I think by maintaining interest is for long form, and short form, I just get on in there and read it and bring it to life.
Hi, I'm Chris Woodworth, and I'm a voice actor from England. And I've been a voice actor for around 2 years. When recording a long-format script, I need to be very realistic about it with myself, really, because I need to be prepared to do it in small sections, so to speak. I try and attack it at times to see if I can get maybe a few sentences or a paragraph out without stopping, but that doesn't often happen because I get tongue-tied over the smallest of things. So I need to, get to grips with the script before I go into recording. But with a short-form script, it's a bit easier to attack, as long as I've established the who, what, and why. When it comes to prepping for a self-record, I need to write down notes on my script. I need to really take time to prepare and figure out the intonations and everything, because I'm essentially directing myself. I need to be quite brutal with myself and very picky and make informed decisions. But with preparing for a directed session, I need to make sure that all of my equipment is in place, that I've got everything ready to go, that everything is opened up, and there's not going to be any technical difficulties. I've got my water here, and I have been to the bathroom and things like that, that I am not going to waste their time.
I would say I take a combination of both. Reading the script beforehand, but not too much, is a nice way to get familiar with the script, and it definitely helps. Breaking down longer reads into chunks is useful and allows you to not get overwhelmed also. Making sure my equipment is working and recording before any session is also a must. Okay, so that's what I do. I want to talk with an expert, and in today's episode, I get the chance to chat to a friend of mine, multi-award-winning voiceover Alexia Kombu. She has 10 years plus experience in the industry, and I'm excited to find out her journey, how she prepares for sessions, as well as getting some tips that may help not only myself, but anybody listening moving forward. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm Alexia, and I have been in the VO industry for about nearly 10 years now. And I've been in a lot of different kinds of sessions over the years, being directed in lots of different ways, and obviously trying to adapt over as the years have gone by, especially with things like COVID, and transitioning more to home recordings rather than going into studios. So there has been a change over the years in that sense. Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky to get into the industry quite young so that I could kind of grow with it. Because entering right now, I can imagine it's quite a daunting experience with it being quite, it's quite a saturated industry. And with everything like AI coming into play, I think it kind of happened at the right time for me. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Do you remember your first session, and what was that like for you?
Oh God, I think I do. I remember my first live audition when I had to go into a studio to audition.
Mm-hmm.
And I had these big earrings on, and I didn't realize oh God, you're going to damage the expensive headphones in the studio. And the engineer was kind of a bit embarrassed. He was like, do you mind maybe do you mind taking your earrings? I was like, oh yeah, no, it's cool. Sorry. I complete things like that you don't think about.
Of course.
So I was quite embarrassed, but yeah, don't wear big earrings to your sessions.
Did you get the part?
I don't remember. God, it was such a long time ago. I don't think I did. I don't think I did. But it was all experience. I do remember my first session. It was at SNK Studios, just off Warren Street. And I remember being directed and it being a really cool experience because I wanted to be an actress. So I was used to sort of not being in front of a camera rather than a mic. Yeah. And it didn't matter what my face was doing. It didn't matter how I looked, anything like that. It was just pure voice. And I really felt like, right, this is talent based. This has got nothing to do with me looking right for the role. And I think that's when I realized, like, wow, this is actually what I want to do. Because it's just using your voice in a completely different way. It's quite fascinating, really.
Would you say that you've fallen more in love with VO over the years than acting, or is acting something that you've always wanted to get back into? Or I don't know if you still do it now, but is it something that you wish was kind of on parallel with VO?
No, like straight up 100% no. It's not the industry for me. I don't think I was cut out for the acting industry, and I don't think it was my thing. I think I wanted it to be my thing. But when I discovered voiceovers, I realized, okay, this is what I was made for, and what I want to pursue. And I remember I was still auditioning for like TV commercial work when I first started voiceovers. And I walked into an audition room for a commercial for TV, acting based. And I just wanted to leave. I just didn't feel like I belonged there. I just, all I wanted to do was be in a voiceover booth. And that's when I knew, I left acting behind me. I've never really gone back to it.
And fast forward to now, you're established in the voiceover world. How many recording sessions would you say on average a day you work on now?
Live sessions, like directed live sessions? Or
both.
A day.
Yeah, we're going for the days, nitty gritty.
Yeah. I mean, you know what the industry's like. It comes in waves, right?
Yeah.
So some days I'm in the booth all day. I'll be like back to back, maybe doing 6 or 7 sessions.
Yeah.
But then also you get very short projects come in, like some IVRs. So you might get 5 or 6 IVR scripts that will take you 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Or then you might get a corporate that will take you half an hour. So it really does vary. You can fit a lot into one day in terms of recording. Live sessions, I block out the hour. So I could fit in maybe 5 live sessions if I were to do that. But I don't like to have back-to-back live sessions because sometimes they run over.
Yeah, of course.
Or, you block out the hour and it takes 10 minutes and you're like, right, well, I've got 45 minutes now. So you work on other stuff in between.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. It is a lot.
And how do you prepare yourself mentally and physically before a session?
Mentally, make sure you've got the script. Sometimes we don't actually know what we're doing, do we? So if we have the script, we can read through it and kind of get in the zone in that sense. And then you might get into the booth, speak to the client, and they want something completely different to what you thought. So I try not to get too attached if I haven't had any direction prior to the session.
Yeah.
Just go in with an open mind. I think when you've been doing it for so long, it kind of comes second nature. You have your little routines. Like I start the morning with a warm up, but I won't warm up before every session because it's likely I'm already warmed up because I've been voicing maybe like an hour before. Make sure I'm hydrated. Always have my herbal tea with me in the booth. And you make sure you're not hungry. That's actually quite a big thing because my stomach grumbles so loud that I've been in sessions where it's really embarrassing. I'm so sorry. My stomach's rumbling. So I always make sure I'm not hungry. That sounds so silly, and then make sure you've eaten the right thing. Like don't go and eat peanut butter before your session because then you're going to be clicking all over the place.
Do you know
no
what?
One wants to listen to that.
The funny thing is like 2 of the things you just said. Being hungry affects me in a different way though. It actually gives me a headache if I don't eat.
Oh, okay.
So that's one thing. And then the peanut butter. Oh my. There's been times when I've just eaten the wrong thing before.
Yeah,
I've got away with it. I've got away with it because it was like a quick script, but I'm like, there's been times when you get that dry mouth and there's no way around it. It doesn't matter how much water you drink, it makes it worse. So it's definitely a thing that you shouldn't do. How do you approach long form scripts versus short form scripts? How do you approach them differently in either preparation or just the way you approach the recording process?
Okay, so my long form would be e-learning. I don't do audiobooks or anything like that. So say I've got a 7,000 word script, it's going to take me a couple of hours. I would make sure that there's no external distractions. So try and make, like, if you've got a delivery or something and you're recording by yourself, I try and make sure that I'm not going to record when the delivery is due, because once you're distracted and you've got to get out of the booth, answer the door, it's the most frustrating thing with long form. So that's one thing. Try and schedule, if you're doing your own session, try and schedule it at a time that works for you. You can't read the script the whole way through before the session, because you're not going to sit and read 7,000 words unless you're doing an audiobook where you have to know the characters and pre-read the book. With e-learning, it's unlikely you're going to read the whole script before you record. But you need to have an idea of who your audience is, the content, whether it's serious, upbeat, conversational, whatever, and make sure you're maintaining that throughout the read. Yeah. Because you can't start a long form read one way and then kind of by the end of it, you're in a completely different place in terms of tone. It needs to be consistent. So to do that, take a pause. When you say you've been reading for 15, 20 minutes, take a pause, go back, listen to the beginning of the audio and start again from where you left off with that similar tone. And what I also like to do as well, at the end of the audio, go back and read the first few paragraphs again, because you're so into that tone and that vibe and that feeling that if you go back and listen to the first few paragraphs, they might have a slightly different energy. So I tend to do that just and then listen back and see what works best, just to make sure you've covered yourself. And that's really how I approach. Yeah, that's how I would go about it. Don't overthink it too much.
Do you have the same approach for short form scripts? So something like a radio ad or like just a normal commercial on TV?
No, because they're usually time restricted. So I like to go into the session knowing I've read it through a few times. So I start the session knowing, right, I've got to speak really fast for this read, or I've actually got a lot more time to play with. Otherwise, you're going to spend like 10 minutes recording a few and then realize they're all too long, or they're actually too fast and you've got more time to play with. This is if you're directing yourself. When you're being directed, it's a lot easier because you do a read and then the engineer might say, or the client might say, okay, well, this is actually shorter than we thought it would be. So you've got more time to play with, or you've really got to speed up. So it really depends what situation you're in. But with the commercials, you should really go over them before the session, get familiar with them. But again, scope changes, scripts change when you're in the session. So
sometimes they get actually written in.
Oh yeah, in this session. That too.
Yeah, exactly. Focusing on self-directed sessions, how do you think you've developed over the years? Speaking from past experience, I know when I first started, just with the speed of things and how quickly briefs will come through, and then the way that you've got to deliver in a certain way and different alternatives and all of that, I kind of learned going along. Was there any mistakes that you made when you first started that you just laugh at now, looking back at it?
Perhaps not mistakes, but say you get a script through that you absolutely love, and you want it to be read in this way, or you think it sounds better, in this tone, style, whatever. Yeah. And you become really attached to that it's not necessarily what the client wants. I find that hard because your opinion really doesn't matter. Our job isn't to give our opinion. It's to deliver what the client wants and how they want it. So I was struggling with that at first because I felt like I don't actually have that creative freedom, that I feel like this should be read with this accent or in this way. And the client's pushing back and saying, we don't want it like that. But my ear is saying, but it doesn't have the same impact in that way. It doesn't matter. And you have to step away from it. It's not our word. They're not our words. It's not our project. It's our voice. And our job is to do what they want us to do. So not necessarily mistakes, but things to learn, something that I have to learn. Yeah.
I think that's something that I found difficult in the beginning as well. Just knowing that it's not your work, like you said. And sometimes they will ask for your creative input, and that's always nice. And they come to you as the expert. But in the beginning, it was really difficult. I remember I had one person I remember very, very well. He asked me to say one word in the script, but he wanted me to say in a different accent just because he likes the way it sounded in that accent, so an American accent. I was like, in my head, I was like, what? Like, it doesn't make sense. But it was someone from Europe, so they didn't really care. They wanted it to sound a certain way. But afterwards, I was like, I never want to hear this script again, because if I hear this outside somewhere and I hear that, I will cringe, and I don't want anyone to know it's me. But yeah, it's hard. Yeah,
I mean, you do some work and you think, I didn't actually like that, or I didn't like that read, but the client was happy, and ultimately that's the main thing. But you don't want to hear it, and you're like, no, I don't want to hear that. I didn't want to do it that way. But as long as the end client is pleased, then we've done our job well, and it's irrelevant what we think.
I follow you on Instagram, as you know, and in the voiceover community, in some circles, you're known as the walking lady. So what I mean by that is, you obviously, you record out in studios a lot, as well as in your home studio. Which do you prefer and why?
I much prefer going into studios. The reason being, you're there to do your job, which first, ultimately, above everything, our job is, we're voiceover artists. We're not actually audio engineers. We're not actually editors. These are skills we have to learn in order to be able to do our jobs outside of the studios and do them at home ourselves. And it is part of the role of being a VO, but it's not the part where I have the passion for. It just comes part of the role. So going into a studio, not only do you get to see people, which is very nice because we don't see anyone if we're recording at home, you get to go in and just think about the script and doing your job and reading. Whereas if you're recording at home, you're making sure your levels are okay. You're keeping an eye on the timings, and there's an eye on like whatever software you're using. And it's a lot to do at home by yourself. And then once you finish the job, you then have to spend an hour going through the audio and making sure everything's okay and editing and then sending it off. When you're in a studio, you go in, you do your job, and you can just focus on that, and then you leave. And then it's someone else's job to take on the rest of the work. So that's the main reason why I prefer going to studios, and seeing people. Yeah.
Would you say it's obviously I understand it feels like you're going to work, and, once you leave that place, then you've finished your job. Do you feel the same way about directed sessions at home as well, like on Clean Feed or Source Connect? Do you feel it's kind of the same, or it's not comparable to you?
Difficult question.
Because sometimes I prefer Clean Feed and Source Connect sessions because it might be raining outside and I don't want to go out, and I don't want to get on the train. But obviously it's nice to see people, like you said. But yeah, I prefer sometimes the Clean Feeds and Source Connects of this world. But
I guess external factors do come into play. But look, it's great that we can. And also, it's annoying to get on the train to go and do a 10-minute radio ad, for example, which is what we used to do before COVID and everything all the time. And now it's like, okay, great, I can do 4 in 1 hour, which you can't do going from studio to studio.
That's true, actually,
So it opens up the door to getting more done in your day. But then with that comes being overworked, and then, I've got the time to fit in loads, so I will. And when you're actually, say, for example, the other day, I was in a studio for 1 hour, then I went to another studio for another hour, had that break in terms of coming home on the train and then getting on with some work in my studio. So I had that break. But when I'm purely doing sessions at home, I don't get that break. It's just back to back. And then before you know it, you're exhausted. That's another reason why it's kind of nice to get out, I guess, because you get to have that break in between.
What is your setup for directed sessions or self-directed sessions?
So I've got my purpose-built booth, and in there I have a monitor. Now, I remember when I first started out, I didn't have a monitor. I would press record and then run into my little setup. And now that gives me so much things to think, oh my God, I was doing sessions and I couldn't see if it was recording or if there was something wrong. How was I doing that? So for me, non-negotiable is having a screen or a monitor where you can keep an eye on your recording. Because imagine that stops and then you haven't recorded everything. So yeah, I would say you need your monitor. You need to have your levels, your whatever you use. I use a Scarlett Focusrite to adjust your levels. And that could be because they want one read that's, I don't know, more louder, shoutier. You're going to have to adjust your levels, otherwise it's going to be all off. And your mouse and your keyboard so that you can navigate your monitor. But ultimately, you need your recording space to be as good as it can be. And it doesn't have to be a Studio Bricks or a vocal booth or whatever. It doesn't have to be a huge, expensive, heavy, massive booth. Just whatever you can do to create good quality work. If it's not good quality, no one's going to want to use it. So, but yeah, you have to be serious about what your equipment. It's your business at the end of the day. So if you've got budget equipment and you're not willing to invest in it, then you're not serious about your business ultimately.
Do you remember your first kind of setup?
Oh yeah. I used to show people like, this is, and I can't believe I used to show people as like, God, they must have been thinking, what are you doing? I used to, when I first started, I opened up my wardrobes. Now, the reason why I didn't invest when I first started is because I wasn't sure if I was any good.
Of course.
So I thought, right, well, let's see how this goes at first. And then as I earn more money and if it starts going well, then I will invest. So I looked at all the things online, basically opened up my wardrobe and put my duvet over the doors, which I'm sure everyone has done. Had my mic on a stand in there, my little stool, and all my wires connecting to my laptop. And I started off with Audacity. Is it Audacity?
Audacity,
free. And started off that way and actually managed to record some pretty good jobs from there because the sound was right in terms of like the dampening. There was no echo because it was all clothes and duvet and pillows. And the amount of people that have had to do this on holiday and, you know, if say you've got an emergency job and you've just got your equipment with you, you can do it. It's just not sustainable and it's not ideal. So I wouldn't knock it if you're first starting out, because I did it. And then when you can and when you have your space, then you move upwards.
I'm sure you must have a horror story that you just have nightmares about.
Oh God.
Just give me
in terms
one.
of a session.
Yes, a session that just went horribly wrong.
I mean, I've had pre-session nightmares. I had one the other week where my Mac just was not starting. It was literally dead. It was just a black screen. And I had a session in 15 minutes. And I didn't know what to do. Luckily, I had a backup laptop. So it took about half an hour to get that laptop on. It was so old. But it had Adobe Audition already installed. And all I had to do was kind of connect my mic again. And I managed to do it. I mean, I was half an hour late to the session, but we managed to do it. And then I had to go to Apple that afternoon, and they fixed my MacBook. But we're in the session. I have had sessions where I haven't really felt well. And actually, there was one particular session, and I emailed the client just before saying, like, look, I feel really unwell. Could we postpone? And they were like, no, the client's coming in and we've got to do this session. I was recording from home. So I was honest. On the call, I was honest. And I said, look, I really don't feel well. If I need to pause every now and again, is that okay? And they're like, absolutely fine. We just need this job done today. So I was like, okay, fine. So I would read a few lines and I'd be like, okay, I need to pause. And I'd like take a few deep breaths. And then, because those booths get hot, get out of the booth for a bit, be like, and then go back, read another few lines. I'm really sorry, I've got to pause. It's just about being honest and being professional. At the end of the day, everyone's human. And they were happy at the end. It was just, I felt like, oh my God, this is not professional. But you can't help if you're unwell one day. But generally, I've been quite lucky. Like, I can't think of any terrible sessions. If anything has gone wrong, it's been tech. And that's been like early days when you don't really know what you're doing. And I think there was one time where everything was going wrong. So I just stopped recording on my end and I was just doing the session. I was like, I'm just going to have to remember what I've done, sort out my tech and re-record it afterwards. And that was a bit of a nightmare, but the client didn't notice. So yeah, I think it's tech that's the biggest downfall sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Tech is definitely the devil sometimes. It's, you know, you can think you're recording sometimes and you're not, or I remember in one instance at the time it was like the biggest job I'd ever done, and it was over the internet. They were directing me, and I'd done a session. I was all happy. I was like, yes, like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. And then the engineer texted me and he said, the files that you sent me, there's a hiss in the back that I can't really remove. And I was like, oh my God, what? And then I start panicking, and then I listen back on my side and I'm like, oh my God. So what it was is my XLR cable was faulty. And I had done a session after that, which was fine. But for some reason, you know those jobs where you just have to, the cable's just rubbish and you just have to angle it in a certain way so it doesn't fuzz anymore. Like, but it just was dead. But luckily I had a spare one. So now going forward, if I could get a spare of anything, I just have a backup, because I just don't want that to happen again. It happened with my laptop as well. I just had to get out some cover on that so I can get something back. But yeah, that's something I would definitely invest in, like cables. Yeah. Just have loads of cables just for that, and headphones and all of that jazz, because
and always save your work. Like the second you finished it, save it.
I save it during the session.
Yeah, and during. You need, oh my God, that I recorded an e-learning medical script that was so complicated. It was about an hour and a half worth of audio unedited. So I had to go through it all. Yeah. And my Adobe crashed. And usually when it crashes, you can open the session and it's got everything there, like where you left off. But for some reason, it just wasn't, like the file was too big. It just couldn't cope. So I had to delete it in order to be able to open Adobe again. And I lost it all and had to do it again.
Yeah, to redo it.
Yeah. So
but the client didn't know, did they? Obviously.
No, that was self. That was
Okay. The wonderful world we live in. Hey. Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you get back. I'm sure you've got lots of recording to do today, but thank you for taking your time out of your day to speak to little old me.
Hi, thank you. It's been fun.
Oh, thank you. So what did I learn from today's conversation? Make sure you're prepared both mentally and physically. Hydrate and be in the right mental space before any session. If you can, get a look at the script before the session, but don't get too attached. Things will change, and the way you want to deliver the script, the client might not like anyway. Remember, you don't have the creative freedom, so always be open-minded. For directed sessions, if you can, schedule a time that works for you to avoid any external distraction. This helps with consistency. For self-records, get as much information as you can. Ask who the intended audience is, the pace of the read and moods, to limit retakes later on down the line, and make your job easier. And finally, I know this might sound obvious, but remember to test record before any home session, and make sure you are always recording and saving as you go along. It sounds stupid, but equipment have a life of their own, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. Thank you to Alexia for joining me today, Dan and Chris for sharing their experiences, and most of all, you for listening. As usual, I have everyone's info and links below for you to check out, and I'm always here to help if you have any questions. That's all for this week. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.